Arguments use premises containing evidence or lines of reasoning to try to prove conclusions.
The Good Basic Reasoningologist.
Tonight's episode, Murder, She Croaked.
Here's an argument for you. Premise 1, all frogs are green. Premise 2, Binky is a frog. Conclusion, Binky is green.
Binky was a bullfrog! P1 is a generalization about all frogs. It says all frogs are green. P2 is a specific instance. Binky is a frog.
P2 gives us a specific example. Binky is a frog. And when we apply that generalization to the specific case, we're allowed to infer or deduce a conclusion. For if the generalization that all frogs are green is true, and it's true that Binky is a frog, it has to be true that Binky is green. Even God couldn't make a world in which all frogs are green and Binky is a frog, but Binky is not green. Though you don't have to make all that fuss.
Let's call this one a general deductive argument. After my monologue, I'll give you a way to evaluate a general deductive argument.
You know, I'm beat. I'm defeated, so if the world was trying to drain me, the world is a vampire set to drain. Well, the mission accomplished. I'm drained. I just can't think of anything to make the basic reasoning videos interesting, and none of my videos are good. I've been making these things since March. It's July now. March, April, May, June. Oh my gosh. So it'll be 5 months that I've been making these. And they're not well written. I'm no actor. And the things that are not relevant to the content are just, I'm wasting your time. Even this monologue right now, this is a waste of your time. No, they're not funny. I'm not a comedian. I'm a tragedian. That's what I am. Well, that actually was kind of funny, but I guess, it's funny. I just was going to record how I feel, but as I walk out here, it's such a nice night out here. And I'm just so alone out here, but I don't feel lonely. It's like, it's just, there's a sense of peace. And I feel better about all this. I even feel better about this video now. The plot was going to be that the good basic reasoningologist, he witnesses a murder, which you saw at the beginning, and then he gets abducted by space aliens. But, it became hopeless. I mean, I'm not Lucasfilms. I can't do special effects, and so I thought there's no way I can do this scene. But anyway, that's what was supposed to happen. But I hope you will get something out of the content part. It does have some arguments that'll be important for our class. So, man, I gotta lose more weight. I can hardly walk. All right, anyway, Kenny, you can cut the camera.
The argument I will ask you to deal with the most is one we will call the general deductive argument. What is nice about the general deductive argument is that for it, there can only be one thing wrong with it, a false premise. That is because it is what we might call logically airtight. With this argument, or any deductive argument, if the premises are true, then the conclusion would have to be true. With the general deductive argument, the first premise is a general principle
And the second premise gives a specific instance to which that general principle will be applied. Now, because a general deductive argument is logically airtight, the only thing that can be wrong with it is a false premise. So look at this argument. Let's look at P1. All frogs are green. Is that acceptable, or could you make a case that it's false by giving a counterexample?
Jeremiah was a bullfrog, was a good friend of mine. I never understood a single word he said, but I helped him drink his wine.
I actually don't much like that song, but you get the idea. You can give counterexamples. So here's my written objection to premise 1. P1, which claims all frogs are green, is false. There are many species of frog that are not green. One example is the golden poison arrow frog, which is yellow. Those are Colombia, like the Pacific coast of Colombia. I'm reading that off Wikipedia.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for my monthly serial killer spotlight episode. This week we're covering the BTK, who after Ted Bundy is probably my most requested serial killer ever. And I'm not going to lie to you, before seeing his name appear over and over and over again in my comments.
Here's a general deductive argument. Premise 1. It is always wrong to torture and kill people. Premise 2. BTK, the serial killer, tortured and killed people. Conclusion. Therefore, BTK did morally wrong acts. Now, the only thing that could be wrong with this argument is a false premise, but the premises are all acceptable. Note, we don't reject a premise because it makes a moral judgment, uses the word always, or because it supposedly can't be proven. No, we use the same standards we use in real life. In real life, if BTK killed someone you loved, you would think it, and really all his killings, were morally wrong. Let's conclude this with a more realistic, real-life example of a general deductive argument. Premise 1. Anything offensive should be removed from social media platforms. Premise 2. Right-wing shows such as those of Alex Jones and Louder with Crowder are offensive. Conclusion. Therefore, those shows should be removed from social media platforms. Now, because the issue of censorship on social media is a real-life issue and it's complex, it is going to be harder to reach consensus on whether this is a good argument or bad. You may throw up your hands and say, well, arguments won't do any good here because it's all just opinion and who's to decide. But I'm going to try to show you that that is wrong. While I can't show you whether or not Alex Jones and Louder with Crowder should have been removed from social media, I'm going to show you that premise 1 is false. So I'm at least going to show that this argument, as stated, doesn't prove the conclusion it's trying to prove. My objection to P1, which claims that anything which offends should be removed from social media, is false. We recognize that it is valuable to have opposing viewpoints on politics available on social media platforms. But most arguments about politics and religion will offend someone. An atheist, for example, may be offended by a show that promotes religion, while a Christian, Muslim, or Jew may be offended by a show that argues that there is no God. But this means that P1 would require us to remove all argument about politics and religion, something we've already admitted would be a bad thing because it's of value to us to have arguments about politics and religion. Therefore, P1's claim that all that offends should be removed is too strong a claim. It is false. With this in mind, take the quiz or quizzes I've posted for you. This will let you try your own hand at evaluating arguments.
Wow, I guess I really am being abducted by SpongeBob.